basketball fans, Akil Augustine, joined by the principal, Paul Jones, still coming to you from Montreal. Today we find ourselves on the Mohawk Kahnawà Reserve at the Kateri School, where Jama Mahlalela, one of Darko's assistant coaches, has brought some of the players out for a clinic with some of the youth of the community. We check in with Jama and take a look back at the clinic.
For me, it's so special. Whenever you can get in front of kids and give energy and give passion, sort of give excitement, it's so special. I think you can see the energy in this group of young people here today, and I think across the country, really improving the game of basketball is important, and working with young people is the way to do it.
You talk about an entry-level opportunity for these young people to kind of love the game more. What are you trying to pass on specifically when you do these camps?
I think a lot of it is representation. So I think having NBA players come to this community and be in the gym, like actually seeing the NBA player and give them a high five, that means a lot. That's something these young people will take with them and move forward. And I think that will last more than the few hours that we're here. It will last a lifetime. And that gives them an opportunity and lets them see the world as a bigger place.
Players learn. There must be something that they're going to talk about on the bus afterwards.
Yeah, I often tell the players and the participants that we actually gain more energy than we give. And I think when you're around young people, they give you so much energy. So our players are actually going to come out of this with more energy and more excited, and they're going to come filled. And I think that's important. We're giving, but we're really getting, which is the more important part, I think, for sure.
Are in town for training? What, you just here because you're great guys? What?
Yeah, no, we're excited. I think for the Raptors to be part of the Canadian community and to come to Montreal and to Quebec is really important for us. We like to sort of be in lots of parts of the country at different points. So it's our preseason, it's our training camp. We have a game later on. Really trying to get back and sort of invest in this community.
I know there's a community angle always, but is there anything you could take from an experience like this in terms of developing the group as a team towards winning and losing?
Yeah, listen, I think that doing events like this matter because it builds connectivity. And the more that our players are together and have shared experiences, the better that can relate on the court in a negative situation or a difficult situation. When you bond as a group, and for our players that are here today, they're actually getting more connected and they're growing as a team. And that's going to help us, 6 months down the road in an NBA game.
So far, what was the best part of your day?
The dance, for sure. At the beginning, that was so special. I think the way that we wound closer and closer together and ended up in unity together, that meant something. I think for our players, they felt it. You saw the energy as we got closer and closer, and we ended up as one group. Really special.
I caught myself during Jama's presentation to the kids with just my jaw agape. Sometimes, for those who don't know, the reputation of one of the better assistant coaches in the NBA, Jama Mahlalela, a local guy for us back in Toronto, Oakwood graduate. But this is a young man who, I'll tell you honest truth, I didn't see a head coach when I was interacting with him as one of his coaches at camps and clinics for the RBA, and then eventually joins the Raptors bench and then gets handpicked by one of the best coaches of our generation, Steve Kerr, to run player development for one of the all-time great franchises in the stretch that they had, the Golden State Warriors. To see him here in this gym today, I was kind of taken back to those days, and what an amazing coach this guy is.
And Akil, it speaks to something that he spoke to the kids about in terms of, he had something called the Raptors Impossible Catch. And then the message behind it was, you're not going to get it the first time, and you're going to keep working, and you're going to keep working, and you're going to keep working. And with that hard work, you get the fruits of the labor. And I think Jam is a perfect example of that, how hard he's worked. And
how unlikely it was.
How much he's been willing to do the work, travel, do whatever it does, whatever needs to be done to get it done. And I think that's a message, and I think that's something for all the kids that are here. There's a gym full of kids, and you don't know who's going to turn into what. So what your job is now is to give them hope, to inspire them, model for them, let them know that this is possible, because I'm sure every coach in there, every player in there, NBA player in there can think back to a time when they were that kid sitting there. Kelly Olynyk, who we're going to hear from in a bit, talked about being a camper at Vince Carter's basketball camp. Now Kelly's one of a handful, 15, 20 Canadians in the NBA. So it's the message around working hard, dreaming, and then trying to do everything you can to fulfill that dream by working your way through it.
And now the aforementioned Kelly Olynyk.
I know they enjoy it a lot, and they love basketball just as much as us. So it's really a pleasure to be here, and you can see the excitement and enthusiasm when you're here.
Awesome, thank you. They did a beautiful stomp dance with you. What was that like, dancing with the residents here on your way in?
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. Just to experience a little bit of their culture and experience it with them. That's huge. That's awesome for us. Great experience. It's something that I'll remember for sure.
And Does the learning go both ways? You're teaching them, but maybe they'll have something to teach you guys?
Always. You can learn from everybody in this world. As long as you have an open mind and you're a sponge, then you're always learning.
I know you're very familiar with Coach Jama when it comes to you guys preparing for games, but how cool is it to see his level of expertise with the young people at these camps?
Yeah, I mean, he's so good. He's so good. I mean, obviously he has a lot of experience, and you can tell, but he's so good at bringing that energy, excitement to these kids, and just bringing that fun atmosphere. A lot of these kids either don't have the opportunity to play basketball a lot or haven't in the past, so he keeps it light and fun and allows everybody to enjoy their experience.
Paul Jones, Akil Augustine still coming to you from Montreal, Quebec, part of the Canada series for the Toronto Raptors, an away game against the Washington Wizards, and building community across the nation. This Canada series has brought basketball to a lot of communities across the country. Montreal, a hotbed. They've got their own players, but we saw Kelly Olynyk talking to these young people today, trying to extend that olive branch and invest in these new communities, because there's a lot of hoopers coming out of a lot of strange places nowadays.
Akil, I think the keyword you used there is community. And, I was asked by a national reporter in the U.S., do the Raptors ever have training camp in Toronto? I said, no. There's one team in this country, and it's about showing the team to the rest of the country and maybe inspiring them and giving them some hope and building that sense of community, because it is a Toronto team, but it's Canada's team. So we see training camps in places in years past like Halifax and Victoria and Vancouver, and games in Edmonton and Calgary and Montreal and all of these different places. And it is about building community. And, interesting talking to people with the team on the drive over to do the clinic. You kind of look around and you look at the houses and you realize that there's way more to this than just being in and around Scotiabank Arena in Toronto. It's about reaching out and being part and giving back to the community. So I think that's why a day like today is so important. And to see a Canadian like Kelly being a big part of that is great.
Now it's time for us to shift gears. Earlier in the week at UQAM, where the Toronto Raptors are holding their training camp, I caught up with your good friend, my good friend, everybody's good friend. He's the man, of course. That's Jack Armstrong. Let's hear his thoughts as we head into this preseason. Basketball fans, we have the pleasure of being joined by the big dog himself, Jack Armstrong, here at UQAM for the Toronto Raptors training camp. Jack, first and foremost, we know you're a New York native, Irish background, but can you bust any French for us?
Merci. Okay. Bonjour.
That's about okay. Well, the bonjour is big to your brand.
Exactly. Well,
okay. Let's talk about this Raptors basketball team in camp now. Darko's second camp, first with this group, though. A lot of people asking questions about the defense, knowing that that's kind of where you start things. But for some of these players, they're really going to have to generate offense as a different group without Pascal, Fred, and the like.
Well, you bring up a good point, because everyone. It sounds nice to talk about defense, but the reality is, if you can't score points, your defense is now running back in transition, and you're scrambling to get to matchups. So the best way to be a good defensive team is to be an efficient offensive team. Protect the ball, take good shots, make shots, and if you do that, now you can get into your defensive schemes on dead balls and makes. So to me, I think it goes hand in hand. And the youth, the inexperience, there are going to be times where you're going to have some challenges in terms of how you match up. I thought that was an issue a year ago. So I don't know if it had to do with scheme and what they were teaching. It had a lot to do with the fact that night in, night out, you didn't know who was in the lineup. Yeah. And then that impacts your efficiency, your shot selection, and your conversion rate.
Now, you often serve as the voice of the fan base on the broadcast, so help us out here with some expectation setting for the fans as they walk into this season, knowing that it's potentially a lottery season for this team, or a play-in season.
Well, here's the thing I learned a long time ago. You got to choose a path. You got to make a decision. Obviously, Masai Ujiri says this is a rebuilding year. Every decision you make in life could be the wrong one. You got to make it the right one. So you got to choose a path and say, okay, we're going to do this. This is how we're going to do our business, and let's do it. So now they've chosen that path. Is it the right one, the wrong one? None of us know, but you got to make it work now. You got to carry it out, and you got to get it done. So to me, the thing that is daunting, if you sit down and really look at the schedule between October 23rd opener against the Cavs, and New Year's Eve against the Boston Celtics, and you look at the games in the early part of the Raptors schedule, it's incredibly tough. There's not a lot of games at the beginning of the year that I would say in that stretch that the Raptors are going to be the favored team. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, you've had the opportunity to be in Spain together. You've had the opportunity to be in South Florida together. That's an edge. And a lot of times the best way to sneak wins is early in the year when teams don't have it all together yet. So if the Raptors can start the season relatively healthy, maybe that helps them get off to a good start. Because when you look on paper, the start of the schedule is really, really challenging. There's a ton of winnable games late in the year.
That does it for us here at the Kateri School on the Mohawk Reservation of Kahnawà. On behalf of Paul Jones, I'm Akil Augustine, producer Jake in the building. Do remember the Toronto Raptors are at the Bell Center against the Wizards Sunday, 7:30 TSN. See you next time.